Okay, this anime called Failure Frame has been on my radar for a bit, but I was not prepared for the dark turn it took. It's about 10 episodes into the first season at the time of this recording.
No kidding. I mean, that early scene with Toka being hurt and abused by his parents was uncomfortable. I didn't know what was going on at first.
So the show's about this high school kid, Toka Momori, who has a really tough life. He's abused and abandoned by his parents, and he gets bullied at school. During a bus trip, he and his classmates are magically transferred to a fantasy world.
Here we go with another isekai.
Right, and Toka and his classmates basically get ranked by this vindictive goddess, Visis, I think that's how you say her name. She gives Toka a low rank and sends him to a dungeon to die. So of course, Toka goes hardcore and wants to get revenge on the goddess, and the story is really a revenge quest as he teams up with an elf princess, Seras Ashrain, and a little slime named Pigimaru.
You know, that theme of dealing with trauma also connects with Pigimaru. When we first see the slime, Pigimaru is getting harassed by other slimes.
Yeah, trauma and the effects of it and how to deal with it in the aftermath seems to run through the show. That's what gives this show its dark edge, and it was unsettling from the beginning. Don't get me wrong, the show is not showcasing or glorifying any abuse that its characters suffered, but it's a motivation for a lot of their thoughts and actions. I think Toka even identifies that he has these two different personas within him. One that treats others well when they treat him well, and the other is a person hell-bent on revenge for those who wronged him.
That's so scary to think about, but also really true for what we see in human nature. We can all have our dark sides.
From a storytelling perspective, that's what makes the narrative compelling, because Toka is self-aware and he's fully committed to his revenge quest. He's obsessed with it, and that gives him drive and purpose, even though we sense it could be self-destructive in the end. I don't know where the show's going with this, but I was reminded of a well-known drama series, Breaking Bad, and how we watched a seemingly normal man, Walter White, go from a mild-mannered chemistry teacher to a full-on drug kingpin and murdering criminal. The tragic heart of that show drew you in because you wanted to see what was going on and what was going to happen with Walter. We kept asking ourselves, will he be redeemed or will he pay for his crimes?
I remember Breaking Bad. Such a good show. But with Failure Frame, what do you think the storytellers are trying to say with Toka?
Without knowing the actual ending of the story, I can't honestly say, but I get the idea that we are watching a cautionary tale of what happens to a person who experiences trauma and chooses to pursue revenge instead of forgiveness. There are consequences with that, because choosing not to forgive another person actually keeps us imprisoned in our feelings and emotions. Toka, even with his amazing powers to paralyze and poison opponents, is not really a free man. He's so caught up and consumed by his hatred for Visis, and that's what revenge does to you. It may be compelling to watch in a story because we want to see how it will turn out, but it's destructive when we personally go through it.
I can't imagine being like that. But you know, I realize I can also be stuck in not wanting to forgive someone who hurts me sometimes. It's the worst feeling.
I think we can trace a lot of the brokenness in this world to the unwillingness to forgive. It's not easy to do so. I think sometimes we have to forgive first by taking the actions or saying the words, I forgive you, and then later the emotions of forgiveness will come. But what we're really talking about is how this all takes grace.
Yeah, but I'm not sure I always understand what that means. In the show, Toka meets Seras, the elf princess who's also dealing with her own stuff. And then they meet the little elf girl, Lisbeth, later on, and that was so heartbreaking to see how she had been abused by her handler.
Sometimes these dark stories are useful in showing us what human nature is capable of, and it really brings us to this place of wanting to find the light, to find something better and more healing.
I like how we can talk about these deeper things while discussing a new anime. It's meaningful.
Maybe we'll do more of a series or some special segments on the podcast. The sky's the limit.
And that's a more hopeful note to land on. Thank you for that.